spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man.
Hello everyone, thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them. I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site that'll give us plot synopsis and character bios for the issue we're about to look at today. I decided to start covering the John Byrne, Chris Claremont collaborations before they both went to Uncanny X-Men. Marvel Team Up number 61 from 1977. Spider-Man and the Human Torch. We get this cover here. Why are the Fantastic Four trying to kill me? So, it says if you think Spidey's confused right now, imagine the Human Torch. So I would say you see fire here and this. We can probably guess who this is here, and it's most likely not the Fantastic Four, but we'll just assume. I have not read this issue in freaking forever. So, alright. Not all thy powers can save thee. Chris Claremont, John Byrne, and David Hunt. John Byrne, although it says artist, he is not inking, he is penciling. But during the 70s, they kind of just made pencilers artists. So, alright. What a mess, says Spider-Man. Better get your act together, Parker. After all, you, Yellowjacket, and Wasp wrecked Reed Richards' lab during your battle with Equinox. The least you can do is tidy up the place. So, that, of course, was the last two issues, which I have covered. So, feel free to check it out. I do have a Spider-Man playlist. Oh, I got confused. So, feel free to check it out in there. So, he yawns here, and he's like, next time someone remind me to stay in bed. So, first things first, wall crawler. And so his Spidey sense goes off. Suddenly, here comes an arm of the Thing, and Spider-Man goes, that arm, it's the Thing, and judging by that punch, he's out for blood. Suddenly, the fire here, cut it out, Matchhead, this is Spidey for crying out loud, one of the good guys. No answer. A joke's a joke, fellas, but this is getting out of hand, and I'm getting out of here. If the FF are really after my scalp, I've got as much of a chance as a proverbial snowball in. And so you can see here the Invisible Woman using a thing. It must be the Invisible Girl's force field bouncing me off the walls. And here comes Mr. Fantastic. Okay, people, I can take a hint. I'm leaving. Strange, they keep hitting me one at a time. As a team, they could have zapped me long ago. So, long time people and readers should know who this is. On the other hand, they're doing a darn good job individually. No, he yells. And so, we've got the Invisible Woman here cutting out his air, and he's like, I don't understand. The FF and I've never been best of friends, but never enemies either. Strangling won't give up, has to be a way out. Dr. Richards, all of you, why are you doing this? Why? And suddenly, the bubble's gone. I can breathe. Oh, I think this is gonna hurt. So, pow! Great. Look at this. Even early on, this isn't John Byrne with his mastery yet, but look at this great panel composition. I was right, far out. I'm still alive. And I hurt all over my entire body. All over. My entire body is a walking, talking Excedrin headache. Man, I must be alright. I'm falling to my death, and all I can do is crack jokes. And so he laughs here. So, meanwhile, he's caught by the Human Torch here. So, Spidey, where would you be without the Human Torch, I ask you? And Spider-Man's like, this is ridiculous. First storming his FF buddies tried to kill me, and now he saves me. So, Spider-Man is confused. He shouldn't be. He saw who punched him. and he's like rolling it in so that the torch hits, and he's like, "You little twerp, what's the big idea? In case you hadn't noticed, Bug Brain, I just saved your red and blue butt." "Kind of you," says Spider-Man, "especially after you and the rest of the Fantastic Four just finished using me as a punching bag." "I don't take that from anybody, Storm." And the Human Torch says, "What are you talking about? Are you saying the FF attacked you?" "You got it. No way, Spidey, it couldn't have been the FF because the FF aren't home. And even if we had been, we wouldn't attack you." And Spider-Man's like, "Well, then who did?" We'll have to keep reading for that answer. "Good question. Must have been someone who can mimic our powers." And suddenly Johnny knows who it is, and he's like, "Oh my god." And so he flies toward the Baxter building. And so Spider-Man's going to follow him. And he gets to the top and says, "Find anything, Hotshot? Torch, you find anything?" And he says, "Yes, you dumb. Do you have any idea what you've done?" And he says, "I don't even know what you're talking about." He says, "I'm talking about this." And Spider-Man says, "A carved stick, so what?" "Look, Torchy, why don't you cool your act a little and start from the beginning? If it's important, arguing is only going to make things worse," Spider-Man says. So Johnny says that a few months back, Tigra here was with Red Wolf, and they tangled with the Rat Pack and their new leader, Joshua Plague. And Plague had ripped off this stick. It's called a soul catcher from a Native American tribe. When they tried to take it back, it turned out that this guy here, Joshua Plague, was nothing but the Super Skrull, who's the one that ended up attacking Spider-Man here. He tried to absorb Tigra's soul into this little stick here, but it backfired and it absorbed the Skrull in turn. And they're saying, see Marvel Chillers #7. So Tigra took the stick and gave it to the Fantastic Four. She figured that they knew how to handle the Super Skrull and that she didn't want anybody stealing it here. And so Ben here is trying to see how strong it is. So he tries to bend it and it won't break. He says, Reed says, "We're dealing with powers we don't understand. Until we know more, the best thing we can do for the moment, the soul catcher will be protected and harmless inside this stasis safe until I can find a way to neutralize its powers." And so, wow, it's just so different the way John Byrne kind of, you look at the characters and you can tell it's Byrne, but at the same time, so Spider-Man says, "Let me guess, during the time I was fighting Equinox, the safe must have been torn open." And so the Super Skrull is loose. And again, here comes his spider sense and the thing's fist. And so finally we get the Super Skrull here. Feel free to check out that Marvel database to look up the origin of the Super Skrull. And Spider-Man here is like, "Hey, big fella, do you think we could talk this over?" "I guess not." "Torch, my professors are not going to accept this as a valid excuse for missing morning classes." "Well, you could always invite them to your funeral," says the Human Torch. And so we're at a Midtown precinct here for the NYPD. And we've got Jean DeWolf here. And so probably her lieutenant here saying, "Subject to the findings of the Bellevue shrinks, that just about wraps the Equinox case up." Jean DeWolf says, "Thank God. Can't help feeling sorry for the boy, though. The evidence seems to indicate that Terry Sorensen was insane as Equinox, but that's the court's problem, not ours. I'm Bush. Let's call it a night. Buy you breakfast, Lieutenant?" And so through the intercom here, "Captain DeWolf." And she says, "What is it, Mello?" "Trouble at the Baxter building, Captain. Some kind of fight." It's an all point skipper code 3. So she goes, so much for breakfast. Let's move, Lieutenant. Where the FF are concerned, this could be anything from a family squabble to a fifth coming of Galactus. As if life in the Big Apple wasn't rough enough already. Love this vehicle here. Since the major action is in your precinct, DeWolf, the commissioner is giving you tactical command. How about giving me some help, Central? Like Chris Keating's hotshot SWAT's goons. They're unavailable. And she's like, beautiful. So she arrives here, and you can see the Super Skrull and the Human Torch, and of course there's Spider-Man here. And so Spider-Man hears the sirens, and we're just gonna continue here. We're gonna kind of skip the reading part. We can just tell by the action here. He uses his web. This is pre Todd McFarlane, so of course it looks silly now when you look back on it here. So Super Skrull is, you can see it, impotent Earthling. So he dismisses Spider-Man's and hits him very hard, knocking him way over. So he uses his webs here and catches himself before he goes kaplat here. So he comes back here. So he says good morning to Captain DeWolf here. Can the Brogue, wall crawler, it's pathetic. This is Lieutenant Raphael Scarf, Borough Special Operations. What's going on here, mister? And Spider-Man says, the Super Skrull, lady, and he's stronger than ever. The Torch and I have been doing our best, trying to stay alive and keeping him busy till some high-powered help arrives. Wait a minute. Those generators give me an idea. A long shot, sure, but Captain DeWolf, can your people keep the Skrull occupied? And DeWolf says, we can try, mister. After all, that's what we're paid for. And you can see here, she aims toward them and goes, hey, Skipper, I know Reed Richards designed these blasters, but the other guy says, belt up, Brian. You want to live forever? Come on, let's get to work here. So they fire at the Super Skrull here, and he grabs the torch with his webbing here, and he goes, he has a plan here. So you can see here that Spider-Man's and Torch here are pulling some of the rails here. Are you crazy? Those cops are getting mauled, and we're down here trying to tying rails into knots. And Spider-Man says, trust me, okay? My idea will work. Hey, Flameface, don't you ever see that old SF slick The Thing? I live with The Thing, remember? For you, I'll make this simple. When the Skrull flies between the poles, it'll be like he stuck his nose into a light socket. Bang, zap, pow. No more Skrull, I hope. So you can see now the Skrull is having his way with the NYPD here. So now he's gonna go back to find the Human Torch here. And the Torch says, heads up, partner, company's coming. And he looks like he means business. Take care of things here, Spidey. I'll keep the Skrull off your back. I know that it says Skrully, but I think it's they always give nicknames. It's mostly because Super Skrull, it's just to save letters. That's really what it is, to save time. So like you can see Torchy. So Torch really pouring it on. His flames burning so bright it's like staring at a miniature star. I better get back to work. Oh boy, I just had an awful thought. After all this, what if my plan doesn't succeed here? So, alright. So, we are looking at a cruise ship here. And of course, we have Carol Danvers. She was editor of Woman magazine. Of course, Carol Danvers will eventually become Miss Marvel and eventually become Captain Marvel here. So Chris Claremont also will be writing Miss Marvel. And after Miss Marvel was canceled, then she will kind of get her into the X-Men for just a little bit of time when they go into outer space. So I also have an X-Men playlist. So feel free to check that out if you would like here. And so she's saying here, I know I should know as Miss Marvel, I'm one of them. Oh, sorry. They're superheroes, Daniel. You get used to them. Everybody's kind of looking at them. I should know as Miss Marvel, I'm one of them. I wish I could tell who's the Torch is fighting. Blast it. I want to help, but I can't. The Wing Commander sticking to me like a leech. There's no way I can switch to Miss Marvel without blowing my real identity sky high. So it's a nice way to kind of incorporate another. The X-Men were selling, but Miss Marvel wasn't. So, all right. So again, we still got these two guys fighting here. On the other side here is the Skrull Throne World is monitoring the battle here. So, and Super Skrull here punches the Human Torch here, knocking him way over. And Spider-Man asks how he is, and DeWolf tells him he's alive, barely. Shock of the punch nearly totaled me, says the Torch. I managed to break my fall just before I hit. You rest easy, pal. My power grid's all set to go. And Scar says, "Don't do it, Spidey. For pity's sake, you're one man. This job needs the whole FF or the Avengers. And brother, you sure ain't them. So be smart for once. I know it'll be a strain. Stay out of this alive." And he falls unconscious. And so Spider-Man's gonna go and try to look at this little symbol he's got here. So we're down to the last two. There, the sensor I jury-rigged in Reed Richards' laboratory has not failed me. The prize I seek is aboard that aquatic vessel. A few moments more and it will be mine. Not if I can help it, Bunky. And he takes whatever this little device is. If you want your toy back, you refugee from the Muppets monster lineup, you'll have to take it. And here comes the Super Skrull. That I shall enjoy doing, human worm. From your crushed and broken body. And so you can see Spider-Man takes him through. And when he crosses, you can see here, he screams in pain. And Spider-Man's like, hey, it worked. But it didn't. Suddenly, you dare, by all the guardians of all the pits of hell, the Super Skrull will be free. Did you think I was some weakling to be bested by a child's construct of wire and metal? And Spider-Man's like, the thought had crossed my mind. I've had enough of your insolence before. I'm done, human. You will beg me for the swift release of death. Then, and only then, Spider-Man, will you finally die. And Spider-Man says, I had a feeling it was going to be one of those days. So, this concludes our issue. And next issue, all this and the QE2. Marvel Team Up 61 by Chris Claremont with John Byrne. From 1977, featuring Spider-Man and the Human Torch. Look at this. Oh, John Byrne is going to be so great. Man. Like and subscribe. I do thank you for listening. Goodbye.